And we're on the air.
Hey, we're on the air. The microphone's hot. So are you.
Well, thank you, Susie.
Oh, you're welcome, Matt. So welcome to Suzilla.
Yeah, we're Wenatchee Insurance,
Yes, indeed.
413 North Mission.
Yep, over here doing insurance-y things for people who need insurance-y stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to have a fun one today.
Are we now?
Yeah, because I got to thinking about it because Susie said, hey, let's talk about social media.
Yeah, because Matt's been like, we've been running a really lean budget this year.
Yeah.
Just because stuff. And social media has been a great way for Matt to be still letting people know that we exist without breaking the budget.
Well, it's
among other things.
Yeah, it's I exchange dollars for time.
Your time, yes, it's true.
Because it is a lot of time of what I do.
It is, and your time is valuable. So we know that you're spending your valuable time doing marketing using social media right now. Yeah. So that's why you are super hyper aware of what's going on in social media right now.
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that since the 80s and 90s I've been online being social.
Mm-hmm. Was it like CompuServe, or was it AOL, or was it before that?
Well, we did AOL, but before that we also did dial-ups.
Well, no,
okay. Maybe dial-up bulletin boards.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. So yeah. That's what, like I said, you've got the AOL, and before that was like CompuServe, and then you had like the bulletin boards, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bulletin boards and CompuServe
they're kind of at the same time, yeah, but still very early days of computer social ability.
Yeah, because face it, it's 2024.
Yes.
We don't live in the hills and come down once a year for our annual gathering of supplies and information, and then go back to the hills.
No. I mean, we could, but we don't.
And there are some businesses that really would love to be there.
To really love to be there when you come down from the hills?
Yeah, because if you think about it, they do not have any sort of social media presence.
Yeah.
They're completely absent, or they will just put out, hey, this is what the company tells me I can say. This is the narrow margin that my lawyers can speak of. It's nothing personal.
Okay, so some companies, some businesses do have restrictions on what their employees can put out in social media from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
And then some actually try and put down and restrict what you can put in your personal stuff.
Yeah.
I know that I was working for a company that would not let us had a restriction on you couldn't really talk about work online. You couldn't put any pictures and stuff. They got mad if you got too in detail about stuff.
Yeah, well, there's certain things that make sense. HIPAA laws, for example.
Oh, absolutely.
That makes sense.
No, but there was other stuff too. But
when we put stuff online of customers and different events and stuff, it's with permission.
It's either with permission or completely de-identified.
Yeah, and it's really important because, I mean, we go out and we do events.
Yeah, if you'll see a picture of somebody, it's because we've asked them if we could.
Yeah, and like I said, events in public space are another one that sometimes we will get incidentals.
Exactly.
And if someone says, oh, you need to take, we take it down. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And
that's part of who we are and how we present. We don't hide.
No.
And it's really important because there are... I remember when I was doing it was a way back years ago.
Are you dating yourself?
I'm going to date myself. This was Northwestern.
Okay.
As I applied for a job there, and it was back in the time when an employer could ask to have your passcodes to go through your social media.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I remember that was a thing. It's like, no.
And it was like, wow, that's horribly invasive.
It is incredible. Yeah, and they were not just asking to see they weren't just asking what social media site, they wanted your passwords to dig into it.
Yeah.
Which and that's terribly invasive. And I don't think they could do that anymore.
No, they can't. No. They made that illegal. And rightfully so, because there are certain points where an employer is an employer.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Okay, there are things that they try and dictate in our personal lives, as employers, oh, you can't smoke. I've seen that. Well, we're a non-smoking company. You can't even smoke on your own time. And I've seen that. I don't know if they can still do that, but I know that that's something that's been done.
They charge higher premiums for health insurance.
Oh yeah, they disincentivize you.
That happened to my father in the 90s when he was working for Bellevue School District. He couldn't smoke at the company car, so he took his own car.
Yeah.
That's
what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
There's freedoms. But social media is one of those things. It's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, it is. More than you realize a lot of the time. And that's actually really important to notice. It's more powerful than you realize.
Yeah, that is perfectly. Because I was like thinking, it's like, okay, yeah, we've done this, I mean, early on we did do some chatting, some internet chatting with our relationship back in the late 90s.
Yes.
So yeah, we've done that correspondence. We put out materials.
Mm-hmm.
I know there was one point where I was working on creating a book of poetry, off of with people that I met online and shared poetry with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a very powerful social gathering tool.
Very much so. And the interesting thing is about the social gathering tool is, in a lot of ways, it's connecting people you've never met before. I mean, I was early on in was it? Might have been LiveJournal. It's before Facebook. I was part of a group that was a sort of a rock and roll thing, and a bunch of folks got together from across the country to meet at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't able to make it, but I got a postcard.
Yeah, a meetup.
Yeah, a meetup.
Yeah,
and that's that. A lot of people have become friends because of stuff like this that they would never meet otherwise. And from that same token, it's become, and Mike Magnotti talked about this week, is it's become how people meet to hook up, to meet each other and date and become, partners in life.
Yeah, see, I've never done that. Yeah, I've never done the online dating thing. I've enhanced, done the, hey, text, email, online,
Yeah.
But never done that. We've done a whole lot of other things.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes. I mean, just recently, I the whole crunchy chili cucumber recipe.
Yeah, which I think that's got possibilities, but it wasn't quite right.
It's in the ballpark of what we're looking for.
But the Chili Crisp product, I definitely have seen possibilities for.
And at the same time, we would never have known about that without social media.
Probably not. I mean, we might have not never, because we might have stumbled across it in the grocery store.
That's a product that you wouldn't stumble across it without a taste test.
You would probably not have. Yeah, probably not. No. Social media made a difference for this product. Social media makes a difference for a bucket load of products.
Yeah. And even in the early days when the health exchanges were getting launched, I was out there working on connecting. Yeah, there was quite a few that said, no. And because of the social media rules have changed, it is tougher to connect on using some of those direct methods. It's also pretty easy to do marketing across the world.
Yes.
This is your first lesson. The dryer vent guys.
Oh my God.
And I actually took the time, because I run a few groups on Facebook.
Yes, you do.
And I kept seeing, they were the carbon copy of, hey, I'm a struggling, small business. I'm bonded and licensed. They never show their bond or the main names. None of that. Bonded and licensed. Let's come out and do your, clean your vents and no money up front. It's a pretty formula.
That's pretty red flaggy for me.
It's really, but it's pretty formula on how these guys. If you start going into groups, you'll start to see these things.
Okay.
It's kind of the updated version of the, hey, would you drive around with a Coca-Cola sticker on the side of your car?
Oh, right. I remember those.
Kind of.
It's the new version.
Except this is a group out of Afghanistan.
Really?
Yes, it's a group out of Afghanistan, and what they're doing is they will connect with a local person.
Mm-hmm.
Might be licensed, might not be.
Mm-hmm.
And that local person will pay for that lead. They're lead generators.
Wow, that's super clever.
And the reason we know about lead generators is because we see the same thing in our industry, insurance.
Yeah.
And some of the most tight laws when it comes to Medicare is based off of those lead generators doing horrible things.
Yes, that's absolutely true, because with Medicare, you are dealing with folks who are they're a vulnerable population.
Yes.
And unfortunately, folks, people who are Medicare age have been taken advantage of since the beginning of time. I don't know what it is about your older folks getting taken advantage of, but that's like seriously classic, stereotypical ripping off the grandma stuff.
Yeah.
There's all you have to do is watch TV for a couple of days, and you'll see a storyline based on grandma getting ripped off.
Yeah, it's horrible and wrong, and it causes all sorts of damage. California made it a point to do some protection of senior laws.
Yeah.
To try to slow some of that down and prosecute some of those people.
And you know what? They're working around it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're totally working around it. It's ugly and it's horrible, and I hate those people so much.
Mm-hmm. One of our mantras in our office is use your powers only for good.
Correct.
Because yes, we have seen some horrible examples, and it's like, okay, well, how do we do it for good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first one is like, well, do you have consent?
Yes. And that's one thing where you run into occasionally is the lack of is non-consent situations.
Well, there's that. The next one is after consent comes, is it in the customer's best interest?
Correct. And that's super important, especially when you're talking about insurance.
And that's a real big one. It's why you use Medicare.gov instead of one of the off sites. Mm-hmm. And I've caught a couple people that have advocated for different, against like Medicare Advantage because of blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. Because of hey, you're going to get sidestepped, and then they recommend a private site. And I'm like, bing, bing, bing. That's a red flag there, buddy. Mm-hmm. It's not Medicare.gov. It doesn't show all of the sites.
Nope.
You are telling someone a bad story because of your emotions.
There you go.
And that's what drives social media.
Emotions? Absolutely. They've done studies on that.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It's the whole there's a hormone that triggers and I can't remember the name of it. But you've, like, for example, if you post something and you get a like, you get a happy hormone. Mm-hmm. And it makes you feel happy.
So dopamine?
Dopamine, thank you. The dopamine hit. And that's a thing. It's a real thing. And that's why people do this, because they get little, pats on the head. Yes, you're good. Mm-hmm. You're good. Here's your like, here's your dopamine hit. Mm-hmm. And we all are susceptible to it because we're all human and we're all inclined to. And so what you're running into, at least with some of these folks, is people mining those dopamine hits.
Yeah. Particularly on the mean side of things.
Oh, very much so. One thing because you've got, well, another thing you get is, it's weird, and this is an experience I've had, is especially with things like the like TikTok and stuff,
Mhm.
you kind of get. Oh, I've seen this on some of the live stuff. People doing lives is you in order to drive the gifts and things like that, which is a
Yeah.
moneymaker for them, is they will. If you jump in on their live,
Mhm.
they'll interact with you.
Yeah.
Which gives you a dopamine hit because, oh wow, this famous person's talking to me. And it basically is just your neighbor.
No, yeah, they're creating an experience
Exactly.
that the consumer can plug into.
Right. And it's normally for your average person, nothing wrong with it at all.
Mhm.
It's just it's transactional, let's be honest.
It can be. There have been some genuine moments of it. It's wild because we know some people that are internet famous.
Yeah, we do.
And we've interacted with them. You know, I think the first major one that did internet was Paul Ingram with Call Center.
Yes.
You could go online and Call Center because our dojo was in the process of shutting down, and they were doing less events. And one of the big things that our son did was he would go to a summer camp and have this immersion. And I was looking for that similar feel in a mixed sort of martial arts way.
Yeah.
To get him that experience, and we found Call Center online.
They're out of Illinois, right? Or
Chicago.
They were Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago.
I don't know if they still are or not, but that's where they were when we started.
They've got little branches here and there. It's kind of an intense network. There's a bunch still in Illinois. I know that there's a Seattle chapter working. There's a lot of guys in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Paul originally came out of Texas, and some of the gurus down there.
I can't imagine doing that stuff in Florida. The humidity would kill me.
A lot of the shots are like on beaches and stuff.
Still.
And moving through sand is
it's a great
workout.
It is absolutely a trainer. No arguing, not arguing that, but he likes that the humidity. Bleh.
Yeah, but
either way, going on.
Yeah, so that was probably our first interaction with someone that was internet famous, that was driving their home income online.
Yeah.
And it was just massive levels of content creation. And when I say massive, he's got thousands of videos at this point because he's been doing it for over a decade.
Yeah. And it's working.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got it is an entire industry at this stage.
And at the scariest moment is when you realize real life moves faster than video.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this when you folks were sparring, and they have to the really good guys, the ones who've been doing this for a long time, are so fast it's hard for the video to catch it.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's when you get in the flow of things, it is incredibly fast, and videos don't do it justice.
No. But video technology has improved to the point where that actually can be slowed down so you can see it. It's kind of amazing. Yeah.
And at the same time, you're not seeing the thought process.
No, it's just if all you're looking for is the physical moves, that's one way to do it. But there is so much more to that process.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paul was probably one of our first internet famous folk. We've got some others since then.
Yeah. There's some that came up, like Moxie.
Yeah. If you're a TikTok if you watch TikTok at all, you may have encountered Moxie Rose. She is a friend of ours and a local neighbor.
Yeah.
And she's, and we've connected with some really amazing people because of her. We've, she's just really dynamic. And she's got some people that she's working with now that I would love to meet someday. Just because, a lot of it is because they have a very similar mindset when it comes to the way they run their business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very, very different business than ours,
Mhm.
but they still treat people the same way.
Yeah.
We have the same attitude when it comes to folks. And that's one of the reasons why I want to meet them.
Well, Stella, we kind of forged a lot of our relationship online.
Yeah, well, that's true. Stella is locally infamous.
Yeah, I think in a few more years she will be definitely regionally famous online.
Yeah, that's certainly the direction they're going.
Well, it's the content is solid.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the key components that you look is what is the content that is being exchanged on social media.
There you go.
Is it, hey, a simple meme to interact on an emotional level?
Because memes do create emotions.
Well, they create emotions. AI is being used in a massive level.
Oh, very much so. It's easy to use and it gets what you want.
And just the amount of visual interaction and lingering that's done on those drive in hard when it comes to logarithms.
Okay, I can see that.
Because you see it, and the image is just too clean, and your image dwells on it.
And the logarithms track those lingers.
Yes, and then they'll populate them with more.
Right.
It's kind of like hey, can you find the tiger in the picture?
Exactly.
That's what's driving those, and it's like, you've got instead of that, hey, where's that tiger? That instinct, that hunt and look thing. You've got this, what's the emotion in this picture? A couple of the popular ones that they're using right now to get that emotional response and that emotional buy-in is American flags.
No, very much so.
Amputees.
You pointed that out before because people are fascinated by the story usually.
It's a tragic story. Birthdays, especially of old people.
Yeah.
My favorite was the World War I veteran having their 97th birthday.
That's not possible.
And it's not possible because World War I took place more than 100 years ago.
Yeah, there isn't anyone left that fought in World War I.
Yes. But there were people on there that likes and follows because they're mining their emotional content.
Yep.
And
they're not being logical when they see this. They're not thinking it through. The audience isn't putting the pieces together. They're not thinking logically, they're thinking emotionally, and they're just reacting. And the logarithms are mining that.
And it's driving them to the next image of the same thing. So they're driving themselves down a rabbit hole because of how they use social media.
Yep.
And then they'll get into that rabbit hole, and they will start to do the, the world is a horrible place. Here, let me buy this bucket of dehydrated food.
Because you will
spend my life savings on it.
You will get sucked into a vortex. It is so easy to end up on a specific category. There's even phrasing for it, but you end up in.
They call it rabbit holes or silos.
Yeah, it's siloed. Yeah. Or like I'm on Book Talk instead of TikTok. I'm on the wrong side of TikTok. Get me off of here. Interact with this. I don't want to be overseeing these posts, so that you see that sometimes, and you end up because you've lingered on something at the wrong point, and suddenly you're going somewhere you don't necessarily want to be, but and it starts to influence you subconsciously, and suddenly you're buying buckets of dehydrated food, and you're believing what they're telling you. You're buying their output. And it can go both ways, not just
Mhm.
the conspiratorial
Mhm.
dehydrated foods. It can go the other direction just as easily.
Well, it reminds me a lot of the 80s and the preachers, the television preachers, because there have been a whole bunch of grandmas that have lost their life savings to these guys
Mm-hmm.
because they were promised salvation that never came.
Well, we don't know if salvation came for them or not because they're dead now.
Yeah, half those guys ended up in freaking jail because of fraud.
Oh, yeah. Although some of them, even some of the worst of them, are still out there preaching Jim Baker, selling dehydrated buckets of dehydrated food.
Yep, and COVID cures.
And COVID cures.
And it's yeah. So yeah, it's
again vulnerable populations.
Well, it's not just vulnerable population because you can have some smart individuals.
Oh, I've seen some very smart people could fall down these rabbit holes and lose their freaking minds.
So the next thing is okay, yeah, is vet sources.
Yes, vet your sources. Know where this is coming from.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the thank Paul for this one because he was like, vet your instructors. Because there are people out there that are not doing this. They're doing it for personal gain.
Yeah,
they're not doing it for to show you a genuine product. They're there to sell. So you got to find the genuine folks. So if you're putting out genuine information, you want genuine information back,
right?
And I got hit on one of my sites. I run a veterans group site, and someone did a direct message. And I looked at it. Okay, this is a nurse in Saudi Arabia.
Okay. It's always anything coming from the Middle East always makes me want to take a closer look to see what's actually going on.
Well, what you do is nurses are this is one of those marketing secrets. Nurses are the highest regard medical professional out there.
Okay.
So if you're going to attach to a nurse or say you're a nurse, you're halfway there. And so they laid in a pitch of, hey, would you want a secondary source of income? Red flag number 2.
Oh yeah.
And I said, hey, okay, because they asked me where I'm from, United States. I'm not going to give them, hey, you're in this particular spot in the United States. I'd give them the United States because they're outside the country.
Yeah.
And they're bold enough to declare they're outside the country.
Yeah, that's some boldness.
And then I pointed out, hey, what is your angle? Shoot it to me straight because you didn't answer my question.
Was it a bot?
No.
It was a real connection.
Probably a real connection. It was instant messenger because here's the thing. Likes will get you familiarity on Facebook.
Yeah.
A higher regard is instant messenger.
Yeah.
So the more instant messages that you can send back and forth, the more connectivity you build.
Absolutely.
And that's on how you build that connectivity on Facebook is those instant messages.
There you go.
And it's really interesting because there are folks out there that do their best to shut down instant message. And it's because there are some tools and widgets for instant messenger. For example, chatbots.
Yeah.
That you can sit there and maneuver and assist people in a very quick manner. However, it's kind of like the difference between, hey, I only use cash versus, hey, I can also use this debit card. Instant messenger is kind of a debit card.
Yeah. It's convenient.
It's convenient.
It's fast.
It's direct.
Yep.
And it's private. So it's very, like I said, it's a very debit card.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I like that.
So yeah, make sure you're putting out genuine information.
Mhm.
You make sure the other person's putting out genuine
Mhm.
information.
And you might actually get a real human connection with a real thing.
Now, we have done events where we've gone back and forth and had hosted. Early on, we did our camping event.
Our camping event.
Yes. Do you remember when we hosted a group camp up at
Oh,
Goose
yeah,
Creek?
yeah.
And yeah, we had someone that just showed up that met for the first time
But we
in the middle of the woods.
But we knew who they were because we'd met them. But because it was we knew them from online,
Hmm.
and they were a friend of a friend. And the funny part is, the initial friend wasn't able to make it.
Yeah.
And they've become a genuine friend since then.
Yeah. And like I said, we met strangers in the middle of the woods.
Yep.
And because of online.
Yep. And it's a thing.
And it worked out well.
It did.
Right.
Doesn't work out every time, but
it doesn't
does
work out well. But there's ways to do.
There's ways to do it safely.
There's ways to do things safe. Right now we're working on doing a sale of our teardrop trailer, and I had to point out, it's like, hey, we can meet next week. It's like, okay, cool. Oh, and it's like, let's do this over at Old Station. And Susie, like, wait a minute. I was like, well, why? It's because I don't want someone to meet me at my house for the first time. And it's a safety factor.
Mhm.
So make sure when you vet someone that it's safe.
Yes.
And there's some credentialing there to get past that safe. For insurance, well, are they licensed?
Mhm.
If they're Medicare, is it a recorded line?
There you go.
So there are ways to do business safe using social media,
Mhm.
ways to do connections, and ways to find out if someone's being genuine.
Mhm.
And if someone doesn't have an online presence,
Mhm.
you might wonder why.
There you go. That's a good place to stop.
So, hey, have a great day.
Have a great. We'll talk to you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.